the meeting of the CBPAC to order on today, September 27th. Please give your attention to the following short video.
Colin, we can't hear it. Can you restart it and toggle the audio button on the share? Are you there, Colin? Colin, do you want me to share the video?
This, I guess so. If the sound's not working, I clicked share sound.
Oh, okay. Let me try it and see.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it was Zoom has this weird finicky thing. Hold on a second. This might do it. Share sound is selected. Okay, here we go.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live-streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should remute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. A 30-second warning will be provided. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the COVID-19 Special Notice for Public Comment Guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, next we'll move on to roll call. So Terry Ann, if you could take roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Member Arce?
Here.
Member Chin?
Here.
Member Wilson?
Here.
Thank you. I'm attending for Member Dugan. Okay, and looks like Member German is absent. And Member Karimi is absent. Member Keishan is absent. Okay, Member McWee?
Here.
Okay, Member Olson?
Here.
Member Riley is absent. Member Riker?
Here.
Vice Chair Pinkham is absent. Chair Sarmiento?
Here.
Thank you. So I'd like to note that we have members German, Karimi, Keishan, Riley, and Pinkham absent. We do have a quorum. We also have member alternates Filson and Fahey with us today in the audience.
All right, thank you, Terry Ann. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Terry Ann, have we received any public comment?
We have not received any written public comment.
All right, thank you. Actually, is there anybody in this meeting who wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not part of the agenda? If so, please raise your hand and I or staff will call upon you. All right, I don't see any hands up.
No
So-
hands raised.
Excuse me?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. Okay, thanks for confirming. All right, before we move on, I do want to make one note. We do have one item on today's agenda, item 4E, which is, let me just read it out here. Review complete street checklist for the city of Concord, Willow Pass Road, repaving and safe routes to transit improvements. That item will actually be, or Concord staff has asked that this item be delayed until the January CBPAC meeting. So I just want to make you all aware of that. Moving on to the consent calendar. So that includes an approval of the summary of actions from July 26, 2021. Are there any changes, comments, etc. from the committee? If so, please raise your hand. All right, Jason?
Just want to note that I wasn't at the meeting, so I will not be voting for it. I'll abstain. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jason. Any other comments or if not, if there's a motion? Or actually, before we do that, actually, sorry, Terry, have we received any written public comment for this item?
No written public comment.
All right, so if any of the members have any additional comments or want to make a motion, please do so. All right, yeah, looking if anybody has any a motion to adopt the minutes.
Motion to adopt the minutes.
All right, I have a motion by Ozzy. Do I have a second? I think that's a second from Bill Pinkham. Is that right? Bill, I think you're muted, so.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, I seconded, and sorry I'm a little bit late, folks. Involved in something, so anyway.
No worries. Thanks. So have a first by Ozzy, second by Bill. Terry Ann, if you could do a roll call vote, please.
Member Arce,
Aye.
Member Chin, if you want to announce again that you're going to abstain, please.
Abstain. Thank you.
Member Wilson,
Aye.
Member German is still absent. If you're here, please let me know. Member Karimi is still absent. Member Keeshan is still absent. Member McWee,
Aye.
Member Olson,
Aye.
Member Riley is still absent. Member Riker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pinkham,
Aye.
Chair Sarmiento.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with Member Chin abstaining and members German, Karimi, Keeshan, and Riley absent.
All right, thank you. So next item 4A on the agenda is an update on the San Ramon Bollinger Canyon Road, Iron Horse Trail, bicycle pedestrian overcrossing. This item will be presented by Ivan Ramirez from CCTA.
Yes, good morning to everybody. Let me see if I can share my screen here in a minute. Give me just a second, please. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, one more. Switch it into the slideshow view.
One more move here, I believe. Is that right there, Marianne?
Looks good. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, so yes, I was invited by Colin to make an update on this project, so I'm very happy to do so. Okay. I don't know why my screen's not moving. Hold on a second. Okay, there you go. So basically, this project is gonna close a current gap on the Arrowhurst Trail over Bollinger Canyon in the city of San Ramon. The overall project cost is $21 million with a target construction cost of roughly $15 million. City of San Ramon is the project sponsor. They invited CCTA to come over and help them deliver the project. So we became the implementing agency through a cooperative agreement. As part of that agreement, it was decided earlier on that we were going to use the construction manager, general contractor, otherwise called CMGC delivery method. Currently, we have we're at the 65% design. We are currently meeting with our contractor and our independent cost estimator to refine the scope and get us to the 95%. And I'll talk a little bit about it a little later. And we expect construction to start in the spring of 2022. So this is the general location of the project. It's again the city of San Ramon, and there is we're very near the San Ramon Community Center and right basically across the street from the San Ramon City Hall. This is an overview of the gap that exists there. This is the gap we want to bridge. And as you can see on the upper right quadrant, see if I can here, this is the city of San Ramon City Hall, and this is where we're going to have our new bridge. So we decided to go with the CMGC delivery method. For those that are not familiar with it, this is a process whereby we bring the contractor on board earlier on. And what that does is we allow to tap into their expertise, knowledge to refine the design to be more effective and more efficient. So we bring them in, we sit down with the designer, and we begin collaborating with them. We tell them, hey, this is what we want to do. They in turn begin to give us ideas as to how to make things more effective, more faster, how to use their means and methods better, how to eliminate time of the project, and it just reduce risk and management, and it creates an overall collaborative approach. The opposite of this, or the normal status quo, is where the designer completes the design, puts it out to bid, and only after at that time is that the contractor comes on board, and by that time, any ideas that the contractor might have to make the project more efficient or more effective, it's too late because the design is basically set in stone, and it could be very expensive to change any of the design concepts that were done by the designer. So here, what we did is this is a org chart of how the project is set up. We have CCTA and San Ramon working as co-project basically managers. We have FHWA and Caltrans helping us along. The project does have a substantial amount of federal aid. So FHWA is very involved. They're very interested in knowing how we're gonna administer this contract because one of the things that has to happen here when the design is completed, we have to negotiate with the contractor and hopefully get to a price. If at that time we cannot get to a price, then we know we put it out to be like any normal project. But ideally, what we want to do is just agree with the contractor so that we get all the maximum efficiencies that we're implementing during the design from their input. So our designer is COWI. They're a firm based in Denmark. Tricertos is our independent cost estimator. As we go through the process, not only do we create a design estimate from the designer and we get a design estimate from the contractor, but we also have an independent cost estimator checking and verifying that the costs are reasonable. And again, this is where FHWA is very much involved. They want to make sure that we have a process in place whereby we're going to get a fair price and not overpay for the services, because again, we're negotiating. It's not a normal bidding project. So these are some of the early design concepts that the city had in place. On the left, we have an asymmetric bridge where the tower is on one side. This is tends to be more expensive just because it's asymmetric, how you distribute the loads. Then in the right, we have a symmetric bridge. But again, it was the way it was envisioned originally. It's very heavy with concrete elements, primarily. Through the collaboration with the contractor, we have been able to come up with this a more slim, lighter structure. As you can see here, probably we think anyway, it's more aesthetically pleasing. We have these inverted 8 columns, and by virtue of making the bridge lighter, you know, it reacts less to seismic loads, and therefore the elements tend to be smaller and therefore cheaper. And on the right, you can see a picture of what it will look to the public as they walk or ride through this bridge. Then again, this is where we are at the 65%. We are going to continue to refine it. We have to take into account costs, and there might be circumstances where it's decided that we cannot afford certain elements. Like for instance, this railing here, the city has had a lot of input. They want to make it look pretty. Originally, they wanted glass, but that turned out to be more expensive. So we had to downgrade it, if you will, to a wire mesh. You might still make smaller changes so that we make sure that we hit that target price, because there is a target price with this bridge. Let's see. This is a plan view, just to give you an idea or how it's going to look. This is the new structure here, the new bridge, the trail going over Bollinger Canyon. And when we are done, this crosswalk that we currently have here is a crosswalk for people that want to walk across Bollinger Canyon. That's going to be eliminated entirely. That's what the city wishes. So we're going to provide access to the street level. So somebody can go out here, get into Bollinger Canyon sidewalk on the north end, and they can also access City Hall, because again, City Hall is over here. And on the south side, we're going to have this nice, with nice curves path on this end. And we're also going to have stairs at this location. This is something that the city has requested. They want people to be able to access the bridge through stairs, not necessarily have to go and walk all the way here to access the trail. And again, we are in the 65%. So we might, these are currently where the design is, but it might change as we move forward. One thing that I thought would be of interest to this audience is the tour. We expect the trail to close for about 18 months. Therefore, we're going to have to provide a temporary detour. This has required a lot of thought because there is property owners, there is access issues, and we'll also try to make it as convenient to the public. But nonetheless, this is what it looks like currently. So we're going to have people come around right next to the trail. Then going to have to cross over. This is going to be closed. This crosswalk is going to be closed. I'm going to send them along this way, cross here, come back through here, and go on their merry way if they're going north. And of course, the opposite, it's going south. And again, it might seem like, okay, what are these guys doing here? But again, a lot of thought and input has been provided by stakeholders, the city, the designer, contractor, and other folks. And this is where we think it's going to end up but again, it might change, but we have to be prepared to have this kind of detour in the project. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions. It's a very brief update, but I think that it gives a very good status of where we are currently on the project. I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless somebody wants me to bring it up again. I will.
All right. Thank you for that presentation, Ivan. Any questions from the committee members on this item? I see a hand up from Oli.
Yeah, this is Oli. I'm a bicyclist, end user. I'd like to climb on my soapbox for a moment here. We can cross Bollinger Canyon Road by pushing the pedestrian button and the traffic signals go off. We don't really need this bridge. We want it. I am not arguing against it. However, we need bridges to get over creeks and rivers and canals. We need bridges to get over the freeway. We need bridges to get over railroad tracks. We don't need this, but I certainly like it. I like it as much or more than anybody on this meeting. But I wish we had enough money to put in all the bridges that we need. Thank you. I'm not yelling at you, Ivan. I'm just on my soapbox. Thank you.
Understood. Understood. Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, Oli. I see a hand up from Dave Campbell. Oh, actually, Dave, before I jump into you, I guess Terry Ann, I guess, is Dave considered member of the public? Should we do committee? Yeah, Dave. So hold that hand up for a minute here. So. And okay, thanks, Terry Ann.
I'll put the timer up when it's ready.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee member comments? All right. Ooh, actually, okay, Jason.
Just a curiosity question. It seems like there's stair on one side of the bridge, but not on the other side. I'm sure there's a reason for it. So just curious what the reason is. Thank you.
That's a city decision, city of San Ramon decision. In all honesty, there were certain people that didn't want stairs on either side. They wanted to be able to provide a path on both sides. And another reason, it increases the cost, which is very much the focus of why we're using CMDC. So the best way to answer for you is just a city preference. That's what they want.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other committee member questions or comments? All right, Ivan, I do have one question just to clarify. When they build a bridge, are they going to eliminate the existing crosswalk?
That's correct. The city wants to eliminate that specific crosswalk, and they want people to use the bridge. Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I see a hand up from Margie.
Yes, not being able to see the design, would just wonder if somebody is in a non-motorized wheelchair, is this arch going to be such that it's impossible for them to get up that? Or if they were trying to walk it with canes or, a little bit not as able-bodied as maybe the design is anticipated, how would that work?
So there are minimum design standards that apply with the American with Disability Act, and those are the standards that will apply to this bridge. So the assumption is that ADA requirements are good enough for people that are in canes and non-motorized wheelchair.
Oh, I guess, I'm just thinking of like the one that's crossing Treat Boulevard, and that's pretty tough to do in a manual chair. So, it really does depend upon that arch. And I don't know how you get enough elevation to go over the street. How is it determined that it's okay, other than just by ADA? Is it actually thought out and tested, or how does that work?
No, ma'am, it's all ADA requirements. See, there is so if you try to make this ramp as flat as possible, you can only imagine how long that bridge will have to be. So that's why the minimum design requirements exist, because it has to be a certain amount of compromise as to allow the biggest number of disabled people to use the bridge and still have some kind of way to maintain the cost effectiveness of the bridge. So for our purposes, we're just going with the minimum design standards. And I don't know if the bridge that you're mentioning meets the minimum design card. Maybe the minimum design standards have changed as well since that time, because they do update them. But the decision that has been made at the project level is to stay with the minimum ADA design requirements.
Okay, and then my follow-on question would be on your detour route. Will that also be designed with a mindset of accessibility for people and using wheelchairs and that type of thing?
That is correct. We are obligated to provide the same minimum design requirements so that people with all kinds of disabilities can cross the bridge with that detour.
Thank you.
I did see a hand up from Suzanne, but I guess is it you no longer have a question, Suzanne? Just want to confirm.
So I did have a quick question. Just wanted to know how maintenance of the structure itself would be handled and incorporated in with the rest of the Iron Horse Trail.
I'm sorry, do you want to know the maintenance of the bridge itself, or who's handling who's responsible for the maintenance of the trail?
I guess who will be responsible for the maintenance of the bridge? Will the city be responsible for the maintenance of that bridge? The park district is responsible typically for the surface of the trail throughout the corridor.
Okay, so the bridge itself, the structure itself, the maintenance of that is going to be falling within the city, but there are right-of-way. The right-of-way is owned in certain areas by the county, and in certain areas by the East Bay Regional Park District. So some kind of cooperative agreement is going to have to be established as to where those limits, if those limits are going to change, where they're going to be. But the bridge itself, the structure, the cables, the path is going to be maintained by the city of San Juan.
All right. Any other comments or questions by committee members? All right. I don't see any hands up, so I'll move to public comment. I do see a hand up from Dave Campbell. So Dave, you have three minutes.
Hey everyone, Dave Campbell with Bike East Bay. Thanks for the update. Ivan, couple questions. One, can we see more details on what the detour during construction looks like so we can get a sense of how well that's designed and any input from this committee on how it might be improved? And then two, the decision not to put in the crosswalk permanently, you say the city doesn't want it. Can you clarify who at the city doesn't want it? And then a follow-up question to that, can you tell us of those people with the city who don't want the crosswalk, can you give us some sense of like what community outreach they've done to get a sense from the local businesses there? Do the local businesses there support not having the crosswalk? Particularly if we're making this a downtown city center, it would seem to make sense that even businesses would want the crosswalk. So that's a two-part question. Who at the city wants the crosswalk removed, and what have they done to establish that the community supports that decision? Thanks.
Okay, Dave. So I think that the answer ultimately, I don't have the answer for you as to who in the city makes these decisions. However, I will tell you that I do engage with, and I think you might have met Teresa in one of the meetings, and also Robin. Those are the two contact people that I have. So whenever I have to engage them on anything related to this project, I work through them, and they provide feedback that they either, professionally they want to provide to me, or whatever feedback they're getting from people within City Hall, they provide to me. So I don't know who are the people ultimately that are making these decisions in City Hall. When they were putting this project out, I know that they did a lot of outreach to a lot of people in the city. And that's how they ultimately ended up with this bridge design and what they wanted to make it look like and stuff. So I know that there's been a lot of outreach made to the community. I don't know about the specificity of the fact that they want to close that crosswalk there. I don't know about that, but I know a lot of it has been done. So I don't know, maybe I can provide a follow-up with where these decisions are coming from regarding the crosswalk. But that's just the information that has been given to me. So sorry, I cannot provide a better answer for you, Dave.
I see a hand up from Oli.
If I could jump on my soapbox once again, that crosswalk is a long crosswalk. And every time a pedestrian pushes that button, that red light is up a long time for the cars. It reduces the level of service significantly at that intersection. That's just my guess, but I bet it's not wrong.
So Bruce, I think that there is something to that. I think that they do want to prevent traffic from stopping there. There are some benefits to that, of course. I can't decide which one outweighs which, but certainly they want to eliminate the stop there for traffic from Bollinger Canyon.
I do not disagree with you. I understand where the traffic engineer is coming from. And I get down there once a year or so, and it's going to be wonderful going over that bridge. I like the Treat Bridge. I like the Ignacio Valley Bridge. I'm going to love the Mcconnelly Bridge. We need bunches more bridges. Bridges are good, no matter what they're over. The trouble is we don't have enough money to build as many as we need and want. But you're doing a fine job, Ivan. Thank you very much for all your efforts.
Thank you for that comment, Bruce. I appreciate it.
And Terry Ann, have we received any written public comment on this item?
No written public comment.
All right, thank you. And if there are no final comments, I'll move on to the next item here. All right, don't see any hands up. So thank you, Ivan, for that presentation. So the next item on the agenda is an update on the State Route 4 Mcconnelly Bike Trail / Pedestrian Overcrossing. And this item is going to be presented by Stephanie Hugh from CCTA. Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Confirming you can see the slides and the presentation okay? I see
Yes.
that. Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Again, Stephanie Hu, Director of Projects at CCTA. I'm happy to provide the committee an overview of the project and an update for Mcconnelly Pedestrian Overcrossing. So for those who don't know, the project is located in the city of Brentwood, as shown on this map on the slide. The project is proposing to construct a pedestrian bicycle bridge that spans over Highway 4 in Brentwood, bridging an existing gap in the Mcconnelly Trail. The overcrossing is located south of Lone Tree Way and north of Sand Creek Road. Oh, I forgot to turn my video. Second. There you go. It's not going. Okay. The Mcconnelly Trail is actually called the Mcconnelly Coast to Crest Trail, and there's actually a group of environmentalists that has been working to complete a 300-mile long trail system that goes from the Bay Area to the Sierras. This is a closer aerial view of the existing Mcconnelly Trail. You can see that the existing trail is bisected by Highway 4. This is the view you see from the east side looking west. There's a large Contra Costa Water District facility at the end of the pay trail in the background there in white. And this is a view you see while you're driving on eastbound 4, looking west. And again, you'll see where the paved trail ends there on the right-hand side there. The pedestrian overcrossing project will eliminate this existing gap in the trail by constructing a bridge that spans over Highway 4. So a few project background. The Highway 4 Bypass Authority was the lead agency for the State Route 4 bypass and its EIR. Since the trail is bisected by the bypass, the POC, or pedestrian overcrossing, was a planned component of the Highway 4 bypass project, and it was identified as a mitigation measure in the EIR. In 2012, the POC project was transferred to CCTA to manage and complete construction. Though this is not a very large project in cost, it still involved a lot of funding partners and time to cobble up enough money for the project. Due to the funding shortfall, the project was actually put on hold in 2014, and the project was restarted in 2018 after Bart contributed some funding and Transplan approved program of Measure J Bart program funds to complete the design. CCTA was also successful in including the project in MTC's Regional Measure 3 program for funding in 2018. AGRIFA is also a major funding partner because they took on the right-of-way support effort and also cover the cost for right-of-way acquisitions. And because Regional Measure 3, as you may know, is tied up in litigation, AGRIFA has agreed to provide us a loan so we can move forward with construction. This is a layout of the proposed pedestrian overcrossing, starting on the west side, which is on your left-hand side of the screen. The existing trail is shown in green, which follows the existing East Bay mud right-of-way. The new trail is shown in beige and brown color. The new trail is approximately 2,700 feet long, and it includes a bridge structure that's about 850 feet long, and that's shown in brown. The structure is a cast-in-place pre-stressed box girder structure, and the new trail meets ADA standards with grades not exceeding 5%. Because there's 3 large existing aqueduct and potential future utilities in the East Bay mud right-of-way, the POC structure avoids being in the East Bay mud right-of-way. The structure, it's there sort of slightly to the, there's a curve on it so that we can avoid or being out or inside the right-of-way there in the East Bay mud area. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this thing south and then crosses over. The trail transitions to a bridge that is shown in brown and goes for Highway 4 and then transitions back down to existing gray. The new trail also needs to go around the existing Contra Costa Water District facility that we saw earlier in the slides. And that's why there's another turn, the new trail on the east end before it conforms back to the trail. Turn here as it conforms back to existing grade in green on the east side. The new trail was designed with future transit improvements in mind. In Bart's next segment study, the POC area was identified as a potential station if eBart was extended from the Antioch eBart station. Staff and the design team worked with Bart in the design phase. The bridge was designed to not preclude an eBart extension down the Highway 4 median, as well as having the POC be an access point to a potential median station, similar to the Pittsburgh Center station at Pablo Avenue. The bridge structure includes a wider width of 16 feet to accommodate bicyclists and potential passengers to Bart, and it can also access a potential median station down on Highway 4. The width of the trail outside of the bridge is about 12 to 16 feet wide. That's the range. The structure also provides conduits for future BART or other utility connections. And then lastly, in the past couple of years, the city of Brentwood has adopted a specific plan for an area called Priority Area 1. Like the plan identified the area adjacent to the project area as the future East County Intermodal Transit Center. And then the pedestrian overcrossing will serve as a connection point between the future transit center and a potential median transit station. So currently the city is developing a master plan to develop a innovation center along Highway 4 between Old Sand Creek Road and Lone Tree Way. The map on the left-hand side is taken from the city's website. The green shows the Mcconnelly Trail and the star is where the proposed POC is. The innovation center will be an area focused on business attraction and job growth by creating an employment center and mixed-use developments. And in addition, CCTA is working on the East County Integrated Transit Study, and the study will evaluate the viability of various transit service alternatives along and around Highway 4 corridor between the existing Antioch BART station and the proposed East County Intermodal Transit Center that's going to be next to our POC. So the project started out as mitigation for Highway 4 bypass, hoping to provide bicyclists and pedestrians safe access across Highway 4. And now the project has potential to connect the future transit center, the potential medium transit station, as well as a key piece of the city's larger vision for this area to promote job growth and businesses in East County. So the current status is that the authority advertised the project for construction in June. We received 11 bids. The board awarded the construction contract earlier this month, and then the construction is anticipated to be finished next summer. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'll take this down so we can see each other. Great. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions or comments from committee members? If so, please raise your hand. All right, Oli.
Yeah, Ole Olson, Mr. Bicycle from East Contra Costa County. Stephanie, you gave a great presentation. Thank you very much. I'd like to go back to about 2001 and share a little bit of the history of this bridge. It was a condition of approval, also called a mitigation measure, for the construction of Highway 4 in that segment to go around the downtowns of Oakley and Brentwood. It was on the consent calendar to build this bridge in 2001, and the chair of the Highway 4 Bypass Authority at that meeting pulled it from the consent calendar and said, and I quote, I was at that meeting, "I cannot see my way clear to spend motorist money on bicyclist amenities." And that was the end of that. And here it is 20 years later. I think the freeway's been open since 2004, and we're getting our bridge. And thank you to CCTA. Thank you to all the staff that's working on it. Thank you to Stephanie, and thank you to Ivan for building the bridge. And everything's golden now, but times sure have changed over the last 19 or 18 years. Thank you for putting up with my soapbox.
All right, thank you, Oli. Any other questions or comments from committee members? If so, please raise your hand. All right, I don't see any other hands up. Terry Ann, have we received any written public comment?
No written public comment.
All right, so we'll go to public comment from attendees. Dave.
I'm going to run the 3 minutes in the background. It wasn't letting me share it earlier, so just letting everyone know.
All right, thanks. All right, Dave.
Hello again, everyone. Dave Campbell with Bike East Bay. Thanks, Stephanie, for this update. Thank you for Oli for keeping your comments short. I thought I needed to put out another cup of coffee while you got started there. I just want to let y'all know that I have reached out to the city of Antioch to see if we can improve the intersection of this pathway, the Mcconnelly Trail pathway at Lone Tree Way, where there's a gap in the path. And they were receptive. They said they would take a look at this and try to work with us so that when this bridge opens next summer, the path that ends at Hillcrest and kind of starts again to the west can be completed. And so, Stephanie, I'm glad you're here. Just to put it on your radar, you know, this is a regional project, this bridge, and obviously connecting it to the Mcconnelly Trail is a regional project as well. So we want to make sure we do that. I know the CCTA is doing a congestion study on State Route 4, all the way from Concord out to the Hillcrest E-Bart station. And reducing congestion, part of that solution is getting people to use this bridge and use this trail and get through that intersection of Hillcrest over to the Hillcrest E-Bart station, bicycling. And so this bridge project and this gap closure that I'm bringing up are all part of this study that, and should be part of the study that CCTA is doing. So just letting y'all know, Bikey's Bay looks at this from a regional perspective, and hopefully Antioch will have the resources they need to improve the intersection at Hillcrest Ave. But if they need more resources or more of a sense of priority, any help CCTA can provide, much appreciated, as well as provided by this committee. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Any other public comment or any other committee comments on this item? All right, don't see any other hands up. So Stephanie, thanks for that update. All right, let me scroll down on my agenda here. The next item on the agenda is an update on the 3 Contra Costa Countywide at-large vacant seats on the Bart Bicycle Advisory Task Force. The Bart Bicycle Advisory Task Force, and this item is going to be presented by Colin Clark. So Colin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. So there are 3 vacant seats currently on the BART task force for bicycling, and wanted to make sure that we distribute this opportunity countywide for those that are interested. There's a website, bart.gov/about/BOD/advisory/bicycle. And that is where you can find the information in terms of contacting Heath Maddox, the manager of the bicycle access programs at BART, and also submitting the application if interested. Also encourage folks to attend the Bicycle Advisory Task Force of BART upcoming in October if they're interested in submitting a membership application. And that's it for this item. Actually, one more thing is if people can share this with their city bicycle, pedestrian advisory committees, bicycle advisory committees, that would be great to continue getting more people interested in these 3 vacancies to represent Contra Costa. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Colin. Does any committee members have any questions or comments? Please raise your hand. All right, I see a hand up from Bill. Bill?
Yes, a couple of things. First, main thing is what sort of commitment is involved, how many meetings, that sort of thing. It sounds like an excellent activity to be involved in. I don't know how often you guys meet. And I suppose the other question is, how influential have we been in the past? Of course, there's Robert Rayburn on the board, which helps, but I don't know. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I have, in terms of the meetings, the BART Bicycle Advisory Task Force meets the first Monday of even numbered months. So February, April, June, August, October, and December.
I have some meetings on Monday. What time of day does that usually happen? You know?
That would be on the website. I don't have that readily available. Sorry.
Oh, and my other question was, would you please put the contact information about the test in the chat?
Yeah, I'll email that to you.
No, okay, fine.
All right, any other committee questions or comments on this item? All right, don't see any hands up. Terry Ann, have we received any written public comment?
No written public comment, and I don't see any hands raised either.
All right, thank you for that information, Colin. All right, we'll move on to the next item. The next item is an update on the Caltrans District 4 Bike Highway Study Draft Corridor Selection Criteria. for the Bay Area. And this item is also going to be presented by Colin.
Okay, so I wanted to give some background on CCTA's role, sitting on the working group that is working on the regional bike highway study that Caltrans District 4 is working on Bay Area wide. So it's the 9-county Bay Area. There has been a design guidelines document published as part of this process. And there also has been a comment period open for an Americans with Disabilities transition plan that was circulated for public review. And then jumping into the bike highway study as it relates to Caltrans' desire to look and evaluate at its facilities how to better serve longer range bike trips and with as few crossings as possible regionally. And so the draft comments that have come out of the August meeting from Caltrans District 4 are available for comment. So looking to get input from you all, today in this meeting, and feel free to follow up by email or otherwise. There's the different criteria that Caltrans District 4 is looking at. And in this case, the combined feasibility and suitability score does include Highway 24, for example, as the lowest of the 5 options. And so it's worth looking into this for the different corridors that have been suggested in Contra Costa, to hear what you all would like to see in terms of this bike highway study. There's also the Regional Active Transportation Plan that MTC is developing. And so that would include, facilities that aren't owned by Caltrans. So this is solely focused on facilities that are owned by Caltrans. There's also a suitability score on its own, feasibility score on its own. And you can see Highway 4, for example, in terms of how that ranks region-wide. And there was a geographic balancing score, for example, in terms of not selecting certain corridors for inclusion because of geographic balancing by the Caltrans District 4 planning team. There's a number of other bike design guidance slides I can show if you all are interested, but I just wanted to leave this open for input, comments, and questions.
All right, thank you, Colin. And does any committee members have any questions or comments? Please raise your hand. All right, let me scroll a little bit here because the screen is being shared. All right, Oli.
Yeah, thank you. Colin, if you still have the opportunity to give input to this study, it would seem to me that we want 3 major things, and that is we want to get bicyclists off the freeway where the bicyclist is mixed in with the cars, where there is no K-rail separation. I'm thinking particularly of Highway 4 between Willow Pass Road and Port Chicago Highway, but also Highway 4 between Cummins Skyway and Hercules. Bicycles are allowed on that freeway even though it's officially expressway and not freeway. That's my number one comment. Get the bicyclists first as part of this freeway study off the freeway. My second item would be get the bicyclists across the bridges in the Bay Area. We have some bridges that allow bicyclists. We have some bridges that don't. I'm sure you all understand that the Bay Bridge does not allow bicyclists all the way across. It'll cost about $500 million, according to Caltrans study, to get a way for bicyclists to get across. It seems to me that's a good use of our tax money. I'm on my soapbox now. And the third thing we want to do is get bicyclists through tunnels as part of this study. I'm thinking particularly of the Caldecott. The northernmost tunnel has a 12-foot wide shoulder in it. It would not be hard at all to put some K-rail in there and make that tunnel the same width for the cars as all the other tunnels. That would be a very inexpensive project, and it would save widening Fish Ranch Road and the Claremont Road so that we could put a bike lane so that the bicyclists could go over that gigantic hill instead of going through it. It seems to me that those are very important points before we add more bike trails that are parallel to the freeway. Although I am a moderately long distance kind of guy, I regularly go from East County to Central County, and would love to see 242 having a bicycle path next to it. All right, I'll shut up. Thank you very much.
All right,
Very good. Thank you for the input.
Yeah, thank you, Oli. Any other questions or comments from committee members? All right, I don't see any hands raised from committee members, so I'll move to members of the public. I see a hand up from Dave Campbell. Dave.
Hello again, Dave Campbell with Bike East Bay. I haven't been following the Caltrans Superhighway discussion a lot, so maybe Colin, you can just update me a little bit. For example, I think probably the busiest Caltrans roadway in Contra Costa County for bicycling may be San Pablo Avenue. And is that a candidate for a superhighway? And if so, what would Caltrans say about that? I agree with all of Oli's comments, getting us through tunnels and bridges, things like that. But then also we're hearing that Marin County would like to take the third upper deck shoulder bike path currently and convert it to a travel lane, and the water district wants it for a water pipe. The 580 bridge there, the Richmond Santa Fe Bridge, is certainly it's a highway, and maybe it's a super highway. I don't know, but it seems like an important bike ped path. And so if it is a super highway, bike super highway, what does this planning effort, or what does Caltrans say about things like we're hearing from Marin County, we would like your super highway for our car lane, or we'd like your super highway for our water pipe? Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. I'm writing these down so I can coordinate with Caltrans on these items, and we can look into the possibility of San Pablo Avenue and other, already higher bike volumes in Contra Costa. And I did see that article about Richmond 580 Bridge and the Marin Water Project. So we'll have to see what happens with that and keep our ears to the ground in terms of what that means for Contra Costa.
All right. Thanks, Colin. Bill?
Yes, as far as San Pablo Avenue goes, I mean, I'd love to see that highway completed from Oakland to San Pablo. As many of you may know, and I'm sure you know, Dave, that there is the San Pablo Avenue multimodal project that's in process, and that's of course building a class 4 lane as far as you can, and then maybe some side street lanes. So that is a very real possibility because it's already underway. There've been public meetings, et cetera. And of course, there's the conflict between it's being used a lot for an alternative route, given the fact that the traffic has resumed with a vengeance. It was certainly nice to ride around when COVID kept people home more. But in any event, it is being used for that, and so you're going to for an alternative route for 80, and there's there's definitely opposition in that way, but some of it's being overcome, and hopefully most of it. So anyway, that's one realistic shot we have for that.
All right, thanks, Bill. Any other questions or comments on this item? All right, I don't see any other hands up, so thank you, Colin, for that update. Move on to the next item here. One second. All right, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, item 4E, the complete street checklist for the city of Concord, Willow Pass Road repaving and safe routes to transit improvements project, that will be that item will be delayed or moved or continued at the January CBPAC meeting. So we'll move on to item 4F, which is an update on Contra Costa County's active transportation plan. And one moment here, switching between PDFs here. So that plan is going to be presented by Contra Costa County staff. We have a few members on the call today. We have Jeff Valeros and Alexander Zandian from the county's Public Works Department. And we have Carrie McNichol from Fair and Peers, who's the consultant for the active transportation plan. So I'm going to hand it over to you three for this item.
Great, thanks, Robert. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You can just give me a nod when that pops up.
Looks good.
Awesome, thank you. Jeff, anything you wanted to say before I jump in, or want me to just jump in?
Let's just jump right in.
Okay, all right. So yes, as Robert said, I'm here today to provide an update on the Contra Costa County Active Transportation Plan, where we're at in the project and what's coming up next. So project timeline here. So we are kind of in phase 2, end of phase 2, beginning of phase 3 for this project. So previously had launched a project website, done a phase of outreach. I'll talk more about what we learned on that, and a lot of existing conditions and needs analysis, trying to learn what the needs are and what the interests are of people biking and walking in specifically unincorporated Contra Costa County. We took all of that back to the lab, so to speak, and are now preparing to release project recommendations and do our second phase of outreach. So a few highlights about what we heard in the first phases from folks on kind of the existing conditions side of things. As I'm preaching to the choir a little bit here, so I'll move through this a little bit quickly, but lots of great shared use trails and paths that really are our backbone facilities in Contra Costa County. However, sometimes we lack safe crossings, connections to neighborhoods, and those trails often have gaps in them that make them difficult to use for continuous travel or to navigate by people who maybe aren't familiar with them. Similarly, there's a lot of popular recreational cycling routes, some of which are located on the Bicycle High Injury Network. This is something that developed out of the county's Vision Zero effort that was happening somewhat concurrently. And there's a lot of lack of connections to key destinations like schools and grocery stores. On the more pedestrian side of things, Definitely some gaps in the sidewalk network, particularly where we see shifts between city and county incorporated and unincorporated areas. Sometimes that's a maintenance need, some needs for repairs or accessibility concerns. And then on the side of crossings, we also know that there's a lot of major intersections that can be particularly challenging to cross. They either feel particularly high stress, they're large, there's a lot of traffic. Sometimes we lack proper markings, crosswalks are faded or missing, and sometimes there's a lack of accessible ramps or signals at some of those locations. So all of this was kind of mashed together with our first phase of community engagement. This was early spring of last year, early to mid-spring. So was all conducted virtually given the current state of kind of the existing shelter-in-place requirements at that time. Included some community workshops, targeted stakeholder meetings, an online survey, an interactive web map. And then all of these things will be recreated again, launching into this second phase of outreach, which I'll talk a little bit more about shortly. So some of the things we heard during the first phase of the project about what people's priorities were, for example, focusing on roadway safety, particularly closing gaps and trail crossings and creating more access to those trails. Prioritizing improvements in disadvantaged communities in particular, and lots of considerations around traffic calming, concerns around speed, congestion, and things like that in neighborhoods. Similarly, in our stakeholder meetings, we met with school districts, we met with a variety of advocacy groups and partner agencies, where we were able to get targeted feedback on both kind of geographically specific areas as well as topical things. So what are those concerns specific to some of the schools and unincorporated communities, for example? This is a process that to a certain degree we'll be looking to replicate in the second phase of outreach, but with more pop-up engagement. We also did an online survey. We had over 225 people participate in this survey, which was a pretty good result. We were happy with that. Over 70% of respondents indicated they walk multiple times a week, and just under half said that they bike numerous times a week. Some of them, some of the responses that we got about, why people walk or bike, health was a big one. It's fun. It was also a big one, just about tied, environmental considerations. And then most of these people indicated that they'd like to walk, bike, or roll for fun and exercise, to parks, to stores, and BART stations or bus stops. So looking at those connections to transit. And then questions around comfort. What are the types of things that would encourage you to walk or bike more often? Over 70% of respondents said that they felt comfortable walking, but less than half felt comfortable biking within their communities. So the top responses were looking for more or better bike lanes, greater separation from vehicles while biking, so more separated facilities like trails or class 4s, more sidewalks where there aren't any currently, and then safer ways to cross the street. Simultaneously, we had an interactive web map that showed existing bike facilities, sidewalk facilities, and available in English and Spanish. So people could pinpoint areas where they wanted to walk or bike, where they had challenges or barriers. We got about 97 comments on the map, and then about 170, thumbs up, thumbs down, like, dislike votes on some of those comments. A lot did come up in incorporated areas, and we have that data available for any of the partners on the line who'd like to look at that more. Always one of the challenges with doing a plan specifically for unincorporated areas, but there were a lot of themes. So again, connectivity, there's few routes based on kind of the topography of the county that actually connect communities together. And these few corridors are typically uncomfortable to walk or bike on for the average pedestrian or person on a bike. Closing gaps and improving crossings around schools was another key priority, closing trail gaps. And then some of the roads that we all know are kind of hot topics: San Pablo Dam Road, San Pablo Avenue, Alhambra, Crockett, Appian. So definitely some trends there. all of this we took and put into our put our thinking caps on. We were able to have a design charrette with several people, including some that are on this call today, and develop a project list. So that's really where we are at this point now, is in review of the project list, which will be published soon. So activecontracosta.org is the project website. If you go there now, you'll see that this interactive map is still live. It will be replaced within about the next 2 weeks with a similar map that shows our recommendations. So the project map for this effort. People will then be able to make comments on those projects, add additional feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down, and we'll begin the process of kind of prioritizing and looking at additional projects we can add. So we'll also be going out to a variety of pop-up events and meetings in a safe, kind of socially distanced format as best we can. So we have 6 pop-up activities planned throughout the county. The first one was actually just weekend before last in Rodeo. We'll be going to Pittsburgh and Bay Point BART Station, the Bay Point Library, the Hercules Safeway, and then the Farmers Market in Alamo. That is the plan as of right now. We'll also be participating in a handful of Municipal Advisory Council meetings, as well as the SMAC, the Senior Mobility Action Council. So really trying with these pop-up events to hit both a variety of geographic locations, as well as demographics, different interests, different types of people who may not typically engage with this kind of process. In addition, we'll be doing a series of walking audits out in the communities, which members of the public will likely be invited to attend as well. So next steps, we'll be sharing out those project recommendations and launching our second phase of outreach with those events that I just mentioned. From that, we'll go through a prioritization process to really develop a great project list that is actionable and hopefully implementable for the county. And all of that will feed into the draft plan document towards the end of this year. So how can you help? Ways to get involved, helping us promote the project and the project website, finding us at one of those pop-up events. The dates and times will be posted on the website shortly. And then Alexander, of course, is our main contact for this, but all of our Contra Costa County staff is fabulous. And so I'm sure any of them will be able to help. But I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you may have on the project at this time.
All right, thank you for that presentation, Carrie. And if I could ask if you, okay, thank you. All right, I already see some hands up. So I was gonna mention questions or comments from the committee members. Bill, your hands up first, so go ahead.
Yeah, couple of things. One is, I'm not sure why you don't have any meetings in or events, pop-up events in West County. We do feel marginalized from time to time on this committee as well. The other question is, which disabled groups have you contacted, or have you not contacted any of those?
Yeah, I don't have the exact list open at the moment, but we have coordinated with a few disability and mobility groups. I'm sure that there's also gaps in our knowledge about who's out there. So definitely welcome recommendations of contacts or groups that we can add to our stakeholder list.
And West County pop-up events?
We don't have any planned at this time, but that's definitely something I think we can look at as we look forward to, and we'll check with Jeff and Alexander on that.
Yeah. A lot of bicyclists here. So anyway.
Thank you.
Like to see it happen.
Kirsten?
Hi, good morning, everybody. What specifically do you want us to promote right now? Is it the survey or the interactive events? Obviously both, but how long is the survey going to be open?
So the survey, I believe, is still open, but we've kind of moved on from that phase of the project. So you're getting kind of because this is when the meeting was, it's a little bit between project phases here, but in about the next 2 weeks, all of the project recommendations will be on that activecontracosta.org site, as well as the events that we have planned starting again in about 2 weeks. So I think just promoting the project generally and getting feedback on those project recommendations, as well as, promoting the events, any of that would be very helpful.
All right, any other questions or comments? Bruce or Oli?
Yeah, thank you. I answered to both. You indicate that there are 3 MAC meetings that you will present at. May I assume that one of them is Bay Point?
Yes.
Off the top of your head, could you say a date?
The Bay Point one is, I believe, October 5th.
Thank you.
Yes.
See you there.
Great.
All right, any other committee member questions or comments? Colin?
Thank you. So this is great. I'm happy that you are all working on this. I wanted to ask a few different questions. The public comment period for the project list, when is that?
So that will open as soon as it goes live, about the second week or so of October, and it will be live at least through that month of October and likely into November.
Okay, great. And then a couple thoughts about off-street trails, and because assuming this plan is looking 20, 30 or more years ahead, I'm wondering if, what kind of feedback we're hearing from the community in terms of should, trails be wide enough in terms of improving multimodal equity? Should trails be wide enough to allow 2 bicyclists to travel concurrently in both bidirectional ways? That's one thought. And then will trails include a shoulder or a breakdown area on the edge of paths that are similar to highway facilities? Because there are a lot of off-street trails that the pavement just ends and the grade goes down quite significantly. And so as e-bikes, electric bicycles, and other devices get more common in terms of personal mobility, we're just hoping to, address some of those issues in terms of safety.
Yeah, that's good feedback. And we'll make a note to talk about that as we kind of identify our priority projects.
All right, any other committee questions, comments? All right, seeing no additional hands up, we'll move to public comment. And I see we have a hand up from Dave. So Dave.
Hey everyone, Dave Campbell again. Carrie, do you have a date for the El Sobrante MAC as well? If you could share that with me, I'd like to.
Yeah, I think that one is not on our list at the moment, but I'll check with the county team.
Okay, good. And then the policies that'll go into the plan, will there be a complete streets policy? And if so, I have a comment on that.
Jeff, do you have an answer for that one?
That wasn't part of the scope of what we're going for here. Contra Costa County does have a complete streets policy from 2016 that we are adhering to. Great, I see thumbs up.
I always like it when I can get a thumbs up from Dave.
Terry Ann, did we receive any public comment on this item?
No written public comment.
All right, thank you. Any other final questions or comments on this? All right, seeing.
Chair, just one more thought. I was just curious, long term, not necessarily right now, but in terms of the general plan outreach that was done as part of the county general plan update, curious what input from that process was kind of integrated into this active transportation plan process.
Right. Carrie or Jeff? Or if not, I could answer that.
I'll punt that one to you guys.
All right, Colin. Yeah, we reached out. I reached out to the planning staff who was involved with the general plan update, and we took some feedback from them in terms of the format of their outreach and some of the community groups they reached out to. So yeah, we're incorporating that into our this current round of outreach. All right, any other questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing no further hands up. Thank you, Carrie, Jeff, and Alexander for the presentation. So move on to item 4G, update on the Countywide Transportation Safety Policy and Implementation Guide for local agencies and the Countywide Pedestrian Needs Assessment. And this item is going to be presented by Colin.
Thank you. So resolution 21-40-G was adopted by the CCTA board on September 15th. And what that included was the Countywide Transportation Safety Policy and Implementation Guide for local agencies. And so next steps include local road safety plans for each local agency. For example, there's a number of jurisdictions throughout Contra Costa that have requested and received funding from Caltrans to develop a local road safety plan. And in part, the reason is to be competitive and eligible for HSIP funding in April of 2022 spring is the Highway Safety Improvement Program Fund. Having a locally adopted local road safety plan is one way to have a Vision Zero action plan at the local level, but also addressing this HSIP funding eligibility thing in terms of being competitive at the local level. There's many next steps in terms of the implementation for Countywide Vision Zero. The CCTA has been coordinating with each of the local agencies. In one example is City of Antioch, who's working on their local road safety plan. Another example is City of Lafayette, who has a city council meeting this evening, September 27th, to specifically address traffic safety, both tonight at the city council meeting and on Wednesday, September 29th, to address traffic safety as well. The next steps also include the Countywide Pedestrian Needs Assessment, which is in draft form in the next couple months, and we'll be going to the Regional Transportation Planning Advisory Committee meetings to get input from local agency staff and work on that before going to the CCTA Planning Committee and board with that draft. So just wanted to highlight and announce the publication of the Vision Zero website. So if you go to ccta.net and you click on planning, there's a page dedicated to Countywide Vision Zero, and that's where you can find the guide and the appendices. For example, the toolbox, which is definitely encouraged for local agency staff to use, and really appreciate local agency input throughout the process over the last couple of years. That's it for me.
Thank you, Colin. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Colin on this item? I don't see any hands up. Colin, I do have one question about the Countywide Pedestrian Needs Assessment. You said it would be going to the RTPCs. Is there you have a time frame for that? Is that later this year or possibly early next year?
Yeah, so the regional, the RTBCs, it'll be this fall and into the winter for the 4 different subregions. And then it'll go, once we have a round of comments to address from the Vision Zero Working Group and this group, the CBPAC, and the RTPCs in terms of the technical advisory committees, it'll then go to, the planning committee and the board. So publication is probably sometime in the spring at the earliest of 2022, depending on if the scope changes or expands.
All right, thanks, Colin. All right, if no other committee comments, have any public comment? Or actually, I see a hand up from Oli. Yeah, Oli, please.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Bicycle from East County. I'd like to point out that routes of regional importance for motorists are routes of regional importance for bicyclists also. So it would seem to me that we should get bike lanes on those arterial streets, particularly leading to and away from crossings of freeways. Caltrans on many of the bridges here in East County has required the bridge to be built wide enough so that we can fit in however many traffic lanes the community wanted, plus a bike lane, but that exists only from the on-ramp under the freeway and then to the off-ramp. And then it goes back to 3 12-foot traffic lanes, 45 plus miles an hour, and the bicyclist dies when he goes out there. So obviously the bicyclist doesn't go out there. So Caltrans, bless their soul, has provided this wonderful bicycle facility under their bridge of the freeway, and the community on their arterial on either side shrugs its shoulder, and that's the end of connectivity because there's no safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Oli. All right, any other committee comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll go to public comment. Is there any members of the public or Terry Ann, have we received any public comments?
No written public comment. And I don't see any hands raised.
All right. If there are no other final comments on this, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 4H, other business information sharing. Is there any other information or business the committee members or staff would like to share? All right, I see a hand raised from, I'll go Kristen first.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to share a little bit of news about bicycle programs that 511 Contra Costa has been doing. Just a quick update. We had a really successful summer bike challenge program this summer, which was offered in all 19 cities for the first time this summer. And we had record participation, including in the cities where it was offered previously. Our follow-up survey data indicates that 72% reported that the program did cause them to increase their bicycling. So great news there. Our e-bike rebate program is nearing its 1-year mark, actually in a couple of days. And we have given out about 500 e-bike rebates since the program started. So the data collection and reporting for that is ongoing, and we hope to have a report coming up soon, probably within the next couple of months, that we could share with the group here if people are interested. 511 Contra Costa is going to be offering initially two adult bicycle commuting safety education classes coming up this month. Those will be on Zoom. Registration for those is free and available now. And finally, quick reminder that International Walk and Roll to School Day is coming up October 6th. for most districts. And in East Contra Costa, where they have a fall break during International Walk to School Day, those schools will be celebrating on October 20th. So we have a lot of schools signed up through our program to participate in that. So good stuff happening.
All right, thank you for that update from 501 Contra Costa. The next hand I see up was Bill.
I just want to share a nice activity that I was on last weekend. Bike East Bay has a ride, fall ride, a winter ride, et cetera. And of course, last weekend was the fall ride, and we rode from Richmond Bart out to Point Pinole Regional Park, which I've never been to. It's a wonderful park. My wife and I go walking there a lot too. And there's a paved road that goes all the way out to the end to the dock, and there are lots of dirt trails too, or roads almost. In any event, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Good bunch of people, and so maybe the next time one rolls around, check your emails and think about going.
All right, thank you, Bill. And the final hand I see up right now is from Colin.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to quickly update is the MTC collaboration that's ongoing with CCTA staff in terms of Vision Zero and the safety tools that are being developed at the regional level. There's a maps and dashboard tool that's being developed for local agencies, and it's looking very promising, and hoping for some publication by the end of the calendar year, if not early next year, so that I can share with you all. And also wanted to quickly legislative update on Assembly Bill 43 was to become law on January 1st in terms of posted speed limits and giving local agencies flexibility on setting those posted speed limits as it relates to the 85th percentile approach that you may have heard of. There's also a complete street safety assessment that CCTA had submitted a grant application with UC Berkeley Safe Trek for and won, and the city of Richmond is working on reviewing that draft assessment as we speak, and in the coming months this could be presented to this group and or the planning committee and other groups within CCTA to report on this safety assessment at a number of key intersections in the city of Richmond. And also curious if anyone had a chance to, last Friday on September 24th, if anyone had a chance to go out to city of San Pablo to check out the demonstration project that was part of the citywide Safe Routes to School planning process.
All right, thank you, Colin. Terry Ann, see your hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to give a quick update on Assembly Bill 361, which is essentially the emergency bill that was put into place to allow agencies to continue meeting virtually with some additional requirements above and beyond what we have now. So just wanted to let you know that we are working on forming or doing a special meeting of our authority board later this week to consider whether how they want to conduct meetings moving forward in October. So be prepared for an in-person meeting in October. I guess the next meeting for CBPAC will be November. But our board will, like I said, be meeting to decide how to move forward. and if they want to enact Assembly Bill 361 or move to a hybrid or in-person platform for the meeting starting in October. And as a part of Assembly Bill 361, there does have to be a proclaimed state of emergency, and we have to reevaluate every 30 days. So that it will, if they do choose to enact it, it will become a standing board item to reaffirm, that the circumstances still indicate that we need to continue meeting virtually, for the health and safety of our members and the public. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. More information will follow later this week after we have the board meeting.
All right. Thank you, Terry Ann. Does anybody have any questions for that? I do have a question, but I'll do to the committee, see if they have any questions. Yeah, Terry Ann, just a quick question. I was informed about that too from the county. And I guess I'm curious, so is it I guess this meeting's every other month. So every meeting will have to adopt another, well, I guess how does that even work? Because if it's every 30 days, how does that work if we're not, if we meet every other 60 days?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is present, a resolution for consideration of adoption to the board. And essentially, if they do want to enact it, it would be essentially through October 30th. However, we'll be meeting again at the October regular board meeting on the 20th. And at that time, if they choose to move forward in this way, we would have another a resolution for adoption at that meeting to continue for November and so forth. And so at the next meeting, we would look at the next month. And it would encompass not only the board meetings, but all of the committee meetings, including CBPAC, advisory committees, pretty much all the legislative bodies of the authority. And that's kind of how we're presenting to them how to move forward with it. Basically, it's similar to now. It waives the requirements for the board and committee members to have to post their location on the agenda from where they're meeting, post the agenda at that location, and then allow the public access. So it's similar to how we're meeting now, with the exception of, now there's that 30-day adoption of basically a resolution to continue reaffirming it. And then there's some other things that have been added, like ensuring public comment periods, and allowing public comment until the public comment period closes. Things related to, there's disruption in, with say internet, you can't continue to take action. So there's a few additional requirements, but similar to what we're doing right now. We wouldn't continue in that manner. So it's similar with the exception of that 30-day clause.
Okay.
Yeah, and so currently the executive order by the governor that you're probably familiar with, it expires on September 30th, and then AB 361 goes into effect October 1st. So agencies have until September 30th to basically determine if they want to, enact AB 361.
Okay, and thanks for clarifying about that. It's that I guess it's not going to be the CBPAC who needs to act up on that 30-day extension. It'd be the CCTA board.
Correct. Yeah, it'll be a board decision for all of the committee meetings as well.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
I see a hand up from Bill, and then I'll go to Bruce or Oli after. So Bill.
Let's see. Let Oli go. I've got one other question. Go ahead. Well,
go ahead, Oli.
Well, go ahead, Oli.
Mine will be quick. Through the chair,
Yeah,
Ann, when is this board meeting, please?
We are working to confirm. It'll be a special meeting, so we will be posting the agenda as soon as we can confirm and get that up. But it's either going to be Wednesday or Thursday at 4 p.m.
Thank you.
I have not confirmed with the board yet, but it's looking like Thursday at 4 p.m. So we'll hopefully can have an agenda and the materials up by tomorrow. That's what I'm aiming for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Bill.
Yes. I don't know how many of you are familiar, probably a bunch, with the Idaho law we're trying to pass in this state and has been received pretty well by the legislature. For those of you who don't know, Idaho law, oddly enough, started in Idaho of all places, where bicyclists are permitted to use stop signs as yield signs and stoplights as stop signs. And I believe this bill also includes making making jaywalking legal. I think it's very close. I'm not sure whether it's on the governor's desk, but of course he didn't want to say anything about it because of the political nature before the election. But now, of course, he's free to do that. So I would suggest that folks write him and your local legislature representative and tell them how much you want to see this. And if you would spread this to your local groups, I'm going to certainly encourage my Richmond BPAC and others, please do it. So it would be absolutely great if we got this passed. There's been various letters to the editor and so on, and the Cron about back and forth about, drivers being outraged. Oh, they blow signs, and then other people saying, hey, wait a minute, you don't understand, you're not a bicyclist. In any event, please do what you can to help get this thing passed.
All right. No other items. We'll move on to item 4I, upcoming subjects for discussion. Are there any upcoming topics that committee members would like to discuss at the next meeting? All right, Bill? Or Bill, you're muted.
I see that. Here I am blabbing away again. I don't know if I've mentioned this last time, but I would like to see us discuss various aspects of e-bikes at this point. Of course, as you know, there are issues about e-bikes on trails, et cetera, et cetera. There's certain issues of e-bikes in traffic and so on. I think it would be a good subject to explore. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I just bought an e-bike. Nothing at all.
All right, thanks, Bill. Anybody else have any items like to discuss at the next meeting? All right, I don't see any other hands up. So we'll, guess before we move on, because I think the last item is adjournment, I do have a questioner that I was asked to ask all of you committee members. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 22nd, which is, I think, the Monday of Thanksgiving week. So if I can get a raise of hands, I guess if you like, wait, let me see here. If you could let me know if you're not going to be able to attend that meeting that Monday. People could speak up now and see. Let Colin and Terry Ann know that does not work for them. So Margie, I guess you have one hand that says it doesn't work.
I think there might be a preference for it to not happen on the week of Thanksgiving, but if it's going to happen, I think folks may be able to accommodate. But if there's a preference, I would rather it be moved.
Okay, thanks, Ozzy. I'm going to bring up my calendar here. So I guess one suggestion that was brought up was on Monday the 15th, which would be the Monday before. Would that work for folks? Okay.
And it might be an in-person meeting, right? That's the whole point, that it could be an in-person meeting.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. I certainly hope so. Wow.
And I guess I do have another suggestion, Terry Ann, Colin, if this would work. So I know you, in our discussion, it was the 15th was brought up as an option. Would the 29th be an option as well? Because that's the 5th Monday, and I know there's people don't typically schedule meetings on a fifth day of the month. So I wonder if that would work as well.
I'd rather move it to the 15th if possible. It just, especially since it'll be an in-person meeting, it just seems like, a Monday morning 2-hour meeting isn't always ideal, but I think if we are going to switch back to in-person, I know that in the past, when I brought this up about, limiting to the 2 hours that we have, you've said that you serve lunch. And so that may help alleviate some of our concerns, because considering, this meeting is ending at 1, we have an 8, that pushes our whole schedule out. So Just wanted to provide that feedback that the 15th would work best. And if it is in person, that'd be good to know as well ahead of time.
I've been missing those county sandwiches myself.
I thought they were going to be delivered to the to my place here, but the last year those lunches. But no, yeah, okay, yeah. So it sounding like the 15th might work for everybody. Ole, I did see your hand up.
Yeah. As a rule of thumb, meeting on the 5th Monday of any month seems to me the smarter option, because as you so cogently said, we don't usually have standing meetings on the 5th Monday of the month. However, I don't want to fight with RC over this. I can get to either one.
Okay.
And any of them are an option, November 15th, November 22nd, or November 29th. I just know from experience that it seems a lot of people do take off the day after Thanksgiving week. So just keep that in mind. While the 5th Wednesday, Monday is always a great option, that one does follow that holiday weekend. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm fine with either.
I can send out a poll if you'd like after the meeting, and with all 3 options, and see where we land, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, that works for me, and I think that works for. I'll speak on behalf of everybody. I think it works. I guess unless somebody has an issue with that, just let us know. Yeah, I think it should be fine. Terry, yeah, please send that out. All right. No other comments on this. I think we'll move to adjournment. As it currently stands in the agenda packet, it says we'll adjourn to the next regular meeting proposed for November 22nd at 11 a.m. But we'll wait for that doodle poll email from Terry Ann, and we'll finalize a new meeting date if needed. So.
Yeah, and just so that there's no confusion, if we do change the date, you will see a notice of cancellation go out for the regularly scheduled meeting date on the 22nd, and then we run the other meeting as a special meeting. So but still follow the 72 hours. So so if anyone sees a cancellation, if we do take that route, that's why.
Okay, thanks for informing us, Terry Ann.
I certainly hope we were able to do it in person. I'm real tired of riding my bike from the kitchen to the study.
I will let you know as soon as the board makes a decision.
Bill, it's going to be even faster on that e-bike.
Yes, it will.
That's what I'm thinking. I might ride my e-bike. I was gonna say, Bill, if you ride your e-bike to the meeting, I'll ride my e-bike too. So we could, if we discuss e-bikes at the meeting, we could have real life examples.
I was going to say, Terry, and we may need to talk with building management about bike parking spaces.
Yes, they're heavier. Might need that. Well, actually, I don't know if it's changed, but last time we went, there were still no racks at CCTA in front. So I don't know.
Across the street there is, but
yeah, across the street.
I think a lot of it's
at the building where it has high visibility, all that. I bring mine inside, but anyway, those of you in CCTA, listen to us. Well, Robert, thanks for facilitating again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, all. And I guess I just finish up here. Yeah, this concludes our meeting. This meeting is adjourned. What time is it? 12:50. So yeah, thank you all, and we'll see if we'll be meeting in person in November. So we'll stay tuned from an update from Terry Ann or the rest of our CCTA staff.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Good seeing everyone. Yeah.